Do you think you could spot a deep fake video from a salesperson in your inbox? Well, you might be surprised. In this episode of Closing Time, we're going to talk all about AI and its uses in sales. Thanks for tuning into Closing Time, the show for go-to-market leaders. My name is Chip House. I am CMO of Insightly CRM. And today I'm super excited to be joined by Ross Simmonds, who's CEO and founder of Foundation Marketing, which is a B2B marketing agency. Thanks for joining us, Ross.
Thanks for having me, Chip. Excited to be here.
Yeah, for sure. And so, when we were talking earlier, we were talking about the emergence of AI and music. And it's funny because I've been a drummer for like 40 years, since I was a little kid. And
Right.
so I'm very used to drum machines. My friends used to call it chip in a box, right? Now you have AI, and the AI is actually composing music,
Yeah.
and that music is maybe useful in a business sense.
Right.
But I've seen you speak a little bit about this. How do you think it's going to impact marketers and salespeople in the short term?
Yeah, I think it's going to continue. Like the fact that it's able to compose music, the fact that you can use AI to replicate a human voice and sing, and all of these things today demonstrate the shift that's not only happening culturally, but also inside of businesses and organizations. I think there's going to be a significant shift in a lot of our day-to-day work as sales professionals, as marketing leaders, as anyone who operates within the revenue realm at large, due to the fact that AI is now able to replicate a lot of the things that we typically do. And a lot of organizations and a lot of people might immediately get fearful by that idea. Oh, my job is at risk. I'm no longer going to be needed. The doomsday is near. When in reality, what I think AI provides us with is the ability to be augmented as people and reduce the amount of repetitive tasks that we would traditionally do. So non-repetitive work is going to be more valuable because it is less likely to have been replicated by an AI, while repetitive tasks, which can be trained and can be mimicked by AI, are more likely to be able to be completely taken off of our to-do list and passed off to an AI. So I think, long story a little bit longer, the shift around AI is significant when you think of all of the different types of things that we do manually, whether it's creating a pitch deck, whether it's actually doing a follow-up email to someone, whether it's nudging someone on LinkedIn with a quick DM, whether it's crafting a brief that you want to send to your marketing team to work on a case study or something. All of these things can now be augmented on the back of AI, and that provides a ton of wins and opportunities for every professional that operates within the GTM world.
Yeah, no question. I mean, our team has already started to leverage AI, semi significantly over the past year, and it's
Right.
making us, I would say, more efficient as a team. I'm going to start out with the, potentially dark side here
Yeah.
of AI, and then let's move into some other things because even on its own in B2B, right, we've scaled the number of SDRs
Right.
and messages that they send in the past several years. I think I saw Jen Allen Newth quoted there's a 10,000 percent increase of
Right.
messages hitting your inbox. And when you
It's
think
wild.
about, okay, now if we make it easier to send a large volume of messages via email, via LinkedIn Messenger, or
Right.
whatever the medium, how is that going to change things? And does
Yeah.
does the din become overwhelming?
Right. I think there's going to be two phases. There's going to be two phases, and the market is going to respond differently to each. The first phase is going to be a gold rush around those who leverage AI to get mass outreach, to get mass DM sent, to really flood the market with communication to their ideal customer, and it all be powered in much on the back of AI. And I think there's going to be a ton of opportunity capitalized on in the next 2 to 3 years from that, because there's a lot of niches that will not even touch AI today, have no idea that OpenAI is a thing, that ChatGPT is a thing. There's a lot of different niches where it's still very foreign. And over the next 2 to 3 years, I think we're going to see an oversaturation of it. We're going to see tons of emails sent. We're going to see tons of DMs. It's going to be overwhelming. And this is when the second shift is going to happen. The second shift is going to happen when everyone, as well as the people behind the technologies like Gmail, et cetera, start to continue to create more stringent protocols of what shows up in your inbox. LinkedIn's going to do the same thing. X is going to do the same thing. It's going to happen across the board. And then what's going to shift is going to be an elevation of outreach. So all outreach, all communication, all approaches are going to go from being able to get wins with AI to being seen as skeptical. And as a result of the skepticism that everyone is going to have with everything that comes into their inbox, there's going to be an increased desire by humans to have a more personalized human connection with the outreach efforts. So I will need in 4 years you to demonstrate to me much more clearly in the inbox that you are not an AI. I need to know with confidence that you are a human. Is it going to be difficult for you to prove that? Yes, because now on the back of visual AI, I can send an AI that is not really Ross into your inbox as a loom and have a presentation that says your name. That is going to be possible. So it's going to be difficult, but if you can break through that, I think that's where you will get wins. Short term, AI is going to provide a ton of ROI, a ton of growth, and a ton of wins for BDRs, SDRs, anyone doing any type of outreach. But when the market gets saturated and when the market gets annoyed, it's going to have a huge correction that takes place both on the back of technology providers as well as the market at large. And we're going to have to see some shifts in the outreach approach.
Yeah, no question. And you mentioned personalization there, Ross, and I think that
Yeah,
that's what I want to drill into a little bit there because I think you're already starting to see a difference in the response rates for salespeople that take the time
right,
and do highly personalized outreach. Right, the whole "show
right.
me, you know me" concept.
Yeah,
When they're doing the outreach,
yeah,
they're receiving higher open rates, higher response rates, and things like that from their prospects versus just using the pre-written cadences. Right, and so
exactly.
there's sort of this fallacy, I guess, potentially that, hey, if we can just scale everything, then
Right,
everything will be better.
right.
And AI maybe takes that scale and puts it on steroids, right? And
100%.
so how do you control for that? How do you leverage the best of personalization, whether it's video, whether it's written text, with AI to have the biggest impact?
Yeah, I think my recommendation would be to be willing to experiment, because there's a lot of developments that are happening today that are making it easier to personalize your outreach and to personalize your communication. I talked a little bit about video. Today, if you personalize and tailor a video to someone and it's still really you, like physical you, there is an increase in the likelihood that you're going to get a response. Now, what AI has done is it has allowed people to upload a handful of videos to an AI tool like DID, etc., HeyGen, and it can create an avatar for you on the screen. You can input into that avatar the words that you want it to say, and you can add variables the same way that you would in an email that change from "Hey Chip" to "Hey Jim" to "Hey Sally" to "Hey Sophie" to change that first name in your voice. That technology exists today, and it will come off very personalized. You can also include screenshots. So when you're talking to the screen, it can change your background to be their website, their homepage, and make it really feel like, hey, Chip, I was on your website, and you have that screenshot behind you, but you actually are doing this at scale and are customizing your outreach efforts based off of those variables. Now, that is a very wild future to live in, but it's also happening very quickly. And I think the people who can still scale the more personalized message that cuts through all of that will go a little bit further. When they can reach out and they can say, hey, Chip, I was listening to this podcast with you and Ross, and you happened to mention that you were a drummer. I was a drummer too. That can't be replicated by AI. Not yet. Sure, maybe I can think in my mind, if you were able to at scale download all the transcripts and listen to find a key personalized moment in the podcast, you might be able to get AI to customize that too, which is wild to think about. But in the short term, you can't. So try to still find those personalized touches in your outreach and communication if you want to win today.
Yeah, it's just crazy how far this technology has come. And I've been in the email space forever, right? So merge
Right,
variables were very common for
right,
text, even dynamic content, which at
right,
one point, if you came from like a catalog print background, that seemed incredible. Right? You could
right.
like personalize the content and the visuals and the images to every single person. Very possible. And now you're talking about leveraging AI to do that in video with a picture of
Yeah,
yourself, right? So it's got to have
right,
some gain benefit, I would think, as long as you do it tastefully. And I think
right.
that's, it's been long talked about since sort of the invention of AI, sort of the uncanny valley. And
Yeah,
are we
yeah,
truly there, right?
right.
Such that you can create one of those videos and it does look like Ross,
Right. Exactly.
and so the individual is not skeptical, but they're convinced because it feels like you.
Yeah. And the risk is that it comes off as an AI. Like the worst experience that you can give someone is that they're consuming it. And at first they believe, yes, this is Ross. But then they don't hear my abouts and they don't pick up the Canadian accent. And then they're like, this isn't Ross. This doesn't work. Like what's going on? Like he's not speaking with that voice and that tone. So there is a thin line that you have to kind of recognize. Like there are limitations. It might not be perfect and you have to be okay with some of the risk that comes along with it. The other piece that becomes interesting with this is like with voice AI now, you can translate that voice into different languages. So internationalization with your outreach also becomes easier. I was in Brazil and I was speaking on stage and I gave this keynote and I did a quick glimpse at the end of my presentation where it translated my voice into Portuguese. And the audience just was mind blown by this concept. And I think like what AI is giving us as well as an opportunity is to really break down borders and connect on a more global scale with people and businesses all over the world.
Yeah, that's incredible. I can see the benefits across borders to actually bring you closer to somebody because now you're talking in their native tongue, right? Where it's,
Exactly.
the benefits of AI driven voice are actually a positive.
Right.
So, one of the best use cases I've seen is that video and be able to leverage that in social, Ross. I mean, have you done any testing with that, you or your team, your clients?
Yeah, so we've been testing a lot with video content, both on the internal side at Foundation with our partners and clients, but also using it for our own promotion. And we like to really experiment in public. So one weekend, I put together a video where it was essentially a deep fake of myself talking about concepts around marketing and growth and content and where trends around search were going. And I pressed publish on this deep fake of myself. And I started to see a handful of responses back, people saying, oh, this is great. Love this. No one was saying, hey, this was AI. I can tell. People were saying, wow, I love your shirt. I love your, like, I like that. I love your new glasses, like all of these things. And I was like, this is wild. People aren't picking up the fact that this is not actually me. And I think there's a pro and a con to this. On the pro side, you can now scale content very quickly on the back of these types of assets and have some amazing results. But on the flip side of that, it makes all of us more skeptical about the things that we are consuming online. And we all now, more than ever before, do need to be skeptical of everything that we see. You don't know if what you're watching is a real person. You don't know if it's someone who is essentially leveraging someone else's voice and making that person say a certain thing. There's a lot of skepticism that needs to be had by all of us as we go to the market. And for those of us who do use these tools, we also need to recognize, like Uncle Ben said in the Spider-Man movies, with great power comes great responsibility. And we need to be careful with how we leverage these technologies to be able to kind of stay true to best principles and ethics around communication with these new tools.
So I have one final question for you, Ross. And so if you were a sales leader right now, because there's lots
Yeah.
of different companies that are emerging in the AI space, what would you do now? Would you start testing some of those things? Would you lean in and educate your team? Is this is just really a
Yeah.
time of testing and experimentation?
I think there's two key things that I would do if I was a sales leader, and it would be a blend of experimentation and empowering. So on the experimentation side, I would invest heavily in booking my calendar as well as some folks on my team who are in a leadership or management position with tools and solutions that leverage AI to allow us to be augmented as professionals. Book some demos, try to find some time to actually understand the technologies that are available in the market and get demos to see which tools might be able to accelerate and give you the wins that you need in 2024, 2025, and beyond. Now, on the empowering side, I would be going to finance and going to leadership and pushing to ensure that my team has training budget so they can get up to speed in understanding how to leverage AI. And it's not enough to say, oh, we have this tool that we used last year and AI is listening to our calls and it's telling us that when we should follow up. No, that was last year. You need to be thinking forward into the future and identifying budget so your team can be trained on what is to come and ways that they can improve in the future. So empowering by investing in your people and then educating yourself through experimentation and learning about new tools.
Those are great tips, Ross. Any other final thoughts for us?
The final thought that I would leave folks with is to not be afraid of the technology. I think a lot of organizations are still afraid that this technology is going to replace them. Those who get replaced are simply going to be the ones who ignore it the longest. So I encourage you to tinker, to experiment, and to try this technology. It is one of the most fundamentally life, career-changing technologies that I've seen since the early days of social media, when I walked into a library and I saw everyone playing Jetman, and I was like, this thing is going to take off. This is that new iteration of that.
Awesome. Well, Ross, thanks so much. I loved your insights today and would love to have you back again sometime.
Thanks, Chip. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to all of you for tuning into this episode of Closing Time. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.